Alright, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris. This is my channel, Barn on 11970. I want to thank you for listening to this, and hopefully you'll listen to the end because one of the beautiful things I've been experiencing lately is getting plenty of messages while I sleep. Now, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know if they're regular dreams. It's really irrelevant to the situation because if you learn something from it and something positive comes out of it, it really is irrelevant why the message is there. You just listen. And I want to help those who want to listen to rethink and see things in a different perspective, and it definitely should help you go onto a better path, because the world is doing things the opposite of the way it should, and it's not their fault, because when you're not taught, you basically have to do things based on your world experience. And it's the old do as I say, not as I do kind of scenario. So if you're not filled with knowledge, you don't know what direction to go, just imagine if somebody they kidnapped you and placed you on a planet, and you don't know where you are, and no one tells you where to go. You're just going to wander around. A lot of times you're going to end up in places you don't want to be, where it could be very scary. So I can't blame people anymore, and it's the whole forgive them for they know not what they do. Alright, so with that being said, there are two parts of your brain. Obviously these are things that people have discussed, and I want to explain why I'm talking about it right now. But there's two parts of your brain. You have what the scientists have considered your reptilian brain, and then what I will call your higher mind. Your higher mind has unlimited processing, can think in reason, communicate, can do a lot of different things. Your reptilian brain is where most people are at right now, because if you think about it, when you're angry, when you're jealous, when you're full of fear, things of lower vibrational energy, you activate your reptilian part of your brain. Now, what does the reptilian brain do? Now, it serves a purpose, but it's not the only purpose. But what does your reptilian brain lead you to do? Fight or flight? The world is being taught through the examples of others, whether it's positive or negative, because I always say, even negative things, if you learn something positive from them by paying attention, it's not necessarily evil, it's a guidance, and sometimes harsh guidance can make more of an impact than something that you may not notice because it just doesn't impact you. But the world is basically set on a reptilian mode, where it's fight or flight, and you see people, they are beyond reason, they are beyond communication, they are beyond understanding, because when you activate your reptilian part of your brain, logic, your brain, your regular part of your brain's expansion, your connection to your heart is cut off. It's like it's unplugged, and you get nothing but anger, fear, jealousy, division, separation. But once you understand, or like what I say, innerstand, and that's why I wrote that, you can fix it. And that's the biggest thing we need to learn right now, because the world is basically doing the wrong thing for themselves. Now, I want you to think about the whole fighting fire with fire scenario, how it doesn't work. Just imagine somebody is just having a really bad day and they're very angry, and they've set off their reptilian brain and activated it as their primary source, where it's fight or flight, which means they're either going to run away from a problem or they're going to create a problem, in other words, fight. Now, if you encounter somebody that's in a negative vibration and you give them back what they're giving, Do you think that will improve the situation or potentially escalate it to make it worse? The personal satisfaction you get from, ripping somebody a new one, if you know what I mean, or giving back what they have given you, is a temporary void that will never be completely ever filled and goes nowhere positive. Because when you give back that negativity, even if it makes your ego feel good at that moment, or you feel satisfied or justified or whatever, it does not help improve situations. Because like any raging beast, it eventually can be calm. But if you poke the bear will strike back. And that's what's going on with this world. What I want to try and get people to think of differently is the way you fill your heart and your mind and your life. Because think of it like a glass of water. The more you fill the glass with water, the less air is in that glass. So the more anger, fear, jealousy, and all those negative emotions you fill into your heart and fill into that reptilian brain of yours, the less love. Now, it never goes. You're just putting it away. You have to think of it that way. Everything is obtainable. But if you live your life in the reptilian brain mode of fight or flight, you have two options in your life. And that's why most people that live their life being angry at others or themselves tend to never grow and change, and you cannot communicate with them and they will not hear you. It's because they've limited their function of their brain and they've eliminated the connection to their heart. But it's temporary and can be fixed. If you feed them with more of their negativity, it does not help raise them. The idea is you cannot rescue everyone, but you can try and rescue as many as possible. Because the more we rescue, the less fighting, the less hatred, the less division, the less fear, the less lower vibrational level you will be constantly pulled into or diving into. Because a lot of people that are sad because they feel and they have empathy, they choose to be here because they're rescuers. But if you were, for example, a fireman or firewoman, and you're going into a burning building because you want to save a child, to complain about the smoke and the heat doesn't make sense. You don't have to go in, but if you do, go in with the intent to save, and don't worry about the things that may inflict you. But if you want a better world, what are you doing to help improve it? And that's the biggest lesson I've been learning lately, is when I am confronted with hatred, anger, if I shoot back at it, then I'm reducing and lowering my level to theirs. And that is not going to help anyone, including myself. Now, like I said, you cannot save everyone. If 1 billion people are drowning, and you're trying to save as many as you can, some will drown, unfortunately. Free will dictates that people can do everything to themselves, including harm. Now, everything is a learning lesson. But if you're in that reptilian mode, you don't process it. You don't learn from it. You will continually repeat it. It's like a caged animal that will continue to claw at the very area that they cannot escape from. They don't have the ability to reason. We, as human species, have the ability to reason if we stay calm, if we use more love in our heart. So when evil approaches you, you can Keep doing what the world has been doing for thousands and thousands of years. Fighting one another, hurting one another, killing one another, and seeing that it is not progressing us, it is regressing us, or at the very least, keeping us stagnant. Now, I'm not saying if you have some assailant with a gun at you and you try and give him a hug that good things are going to happen. I'm not going to that extreme. I mean, I'm not crazy. But what I'm saying is the ordinary person who may be just having a bad day and you bump into them and they curse you, instead of cursing them back, maybe just say, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, I hope it gets better. Or if you're with a loved one and you got into an argument, the next day, maybe just go over and give them a hug and say, I'm sorry if I hurt you. So we have to be realistic. Like I said, you're not going to go up to some, if a bear is attacking you and it's charging towards you, giving it a hug is not going to save your life. So we have to be realistic as well. But you have to think of your lower vibration as like a wounded gazelle. You become a very easy target. You have the choice to stay in that realm because it does make you feel good at times. It does make you feel good that if somebody attacks you, that you can attack them, and maybe you might even hurt them or give them worse what they gave. That temporary satisfaction is a void that will never be filled, and you will continuously find that drug and never progress. Think of anybody that has a drug problem, whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, other narcotics that hurt you. I'm not talking about any kind of natural plant medicines. Like, for example, you're seeing things like CBD oil finally coming into light, and medical marijuana and things like that, which have been around for a long time, but they like to demonize things that could cure you or help you. I'm talking about the negative stuff. If somebody's living on their life on heroin, they're not improving their life. They spiral downward. So when you listen to your ego and you listen to the primitive part of your brain, you shut off your logic, you shut off your reason, you focus more on anger, either fighting or running. Neither one helps you learn. If you keep running away from your problems, do they go away? Ignore something, it'll go away. But love something, you may fix it and have it go in a better way. It is always choice. Just because the masses of people think negatively or think differently to you and may be wrong in your eyes does not mean it has to affect you, because it is a choice to go and hunt negativity, because it's very easy to find and it's very alluring. It's very easy when somebody pushes you to instinctively want to push back. But like an animal, sometimes you cannot reason with them. So sometimes you just have to let them live their life. And you have the right to live yours, whatever way you want. So I have to ask you, if your world is not happy, what are you doing to fix it? And I've seen many people over the years listening to my words, telling me how much it helps them and how much they appreciate it and how much they needed it, and yet year after year they say the same thing. So what are you doing to improve your life so you don't need somebody else's words or actions to improve you? What are you doing to be able to do it for yourself? Are you constantly in the reptilian brain mode of fight or flight, which limits your options? Or are you learning that that is potentially happening to you, and you can choose to raise your vibration to your higher mind, which is connected much better to your heart, to where you can feel instead of just react, and your life will get better. But you have to think of it like an echo. If you are standing in front of the Grand Canyon right on top and you scream out, the echo takes a while for it to return. So you may not see immediate results. Maybe that's the test to see if you're really true to your heart or you're full of you-know-what. And that's the biggest thing I had to learn over the years, because I would get angry a lot, even though I spoke about peace, even though I spoke about love. But if you continually improve, then you're going in the right direction, because like a staircase, you don't make it to the top of your stairs in your house by taking one step. It can take time, and think of the journey as part of the fun. Have you ever had, when you were a child, or as an adult with your children, ever to say, you know what, let's get in the car and let's just drive. Let's go somewhere. Didn't you enjoy that trip? The ride, the process to get where you're going? You don't just say, all right, let's say you live in New York, and then you say, you know what, let's drive to the Grand Canyon. Let's just enjoy the road. You don't just get in the car and then all of a sudden you're at the Grand Canyon. You have a lot of road that you have to travel. So enjoy the journey. Because once you reach your final destination, there's nowhere to go at that moment. And if you spend your whole life continually having the same problems happen over and over again, it means you are not listening to these inner parts of yourself and learning. Because you only need to learn 2 + 2 is 4 when you don't know it. Once you know 2 + 2 is 4, there is no need for that to be teaching you anymore, because you know it already. So if something is repeating in your life, it is because you're refusing to listen to it. And most of the time it's because the world is testing you by trying to say, will you continue to fight fire with fire? Because everybody tells you that's the way to do it, and that's what everybody's been doing, and it makes you feel good at the moment when you do it, but you don't grow, which means you have to continually learn. Or are you going to say, today's the day I start looking at things differently, because I can always go back to the same thing I've been doing? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And if you've been one of the people that have been watching my channel since it originated, my original channel, which was Barn on 11967, which I shut down because I was so angry at what people were saying, you'll notice that I've grown so much. And you can too. This is why I do this. It's to share my life experience, leading by example. That I went from worrying about my next paycheck, worrying about where things are going to be. I've been unemployed now for 4 months due to the current situations that are going on. My businesses either went out of business or I'm not allowed to go back because they still are closed. And yet, bills still get paid. I still am able to, on my other channel, We Love Comics, still able to buy comic books. And it's not because I have millions of dollars in my pocket or bank account, because I sure don't. But there's always a way, because I let go of the fear. I let go of the lower mind, which limits how you reason, how you think, how you react, because it's fight or flight. And when you allow yourself to hit that higher vibration, you open your world to a infinite way of going. Which still could mean you can choose to do the wrong thing. Just because you're in a higher state of consciousness and a higher state of mind does not mean you will stay there. Think of it like flying a plane. Sometimes you gotta land, and sometimes that's okay. But if you don't learn, you repeat. And trust me, I'm not going to say any names, because that's not what this is about, but there are plenty of people that appreciate my advice, but obviously are not, they may be listening to it, but they're not practicing it. So how good was it? Were they just saying it to be nice, because they appreciated what I'm doing, but don't truly believe in it? Then it would be rather silly to listen to the same advice that you may appreciate, but you don't act upon. Free will allows you to be anything or think any way you want. And you will always be right, because the world will always give your belief every access to that truth to verify what you believed is true. So you can totally disregard what I say, you can 100% believe it, and you can do everything in between. What you do does not affect me. What you say, if it's negative, no longer affects me. And I will not respond with anger if somebody says something negative. I will wish them well and give them something that they lack, and that's empathy. We need more of that in this world. This world has been nothing but predator and prey. And what a surprise, that's what the whole world is consisting of, predator and prey. Now let me ask you, with all the governments throughout history, with all the wars throughout history, with all the fighting throughout history, has it brought us closer to unity and a utopia? We're always waiting for somebody else telling us everything that we want to hear, so it makes our life easier. What is the purpose? If the world was created so something or someone else can do everything for you, then what is the purpose of you being here? You would serve no purpose. So that means there is so much more for you if you choose it. Otherwise, you repeat the cycle. If you want to continue to activate your primal brain, you have that right. It will make you feel good. The ego is very strong. Now, there are many people saying, kill the ego. You don't want that either. Because sometimes ego is necessary for certain aspects. It's like anything. Too much of anything is bad. You know, just imagine if all of a sudden the room that you're in starts filling with money. Gold coins start pouring into your room. That seems great. That seems amazing. You'll be happy at first. But what do you think happens when it gets to the point where you can no longer move and can no longer breathe? It's all about balance. And I see the negativity in the world as a test to see, can I learn from it and grow? Because then it no longer needs to be there. It is that easy. When I used to be paranoid and scared when I first made my channel, didn't know what was going on and wasn't aware of the situations, I used to get trolled and hated. I got death threats. I got people making fun of me all the time. And I used to react to it all the time. And what did that do? It encouraged them. It made it worse. The very thing I did not want. Because I did not see from the inside, I was viewing it from the outside and actually creating the very thing I don't want. Why? Because I had to learn. Sometimes you have to learn what you don't want. Sometimes you have to try a food just to see if you like it or not. And now, what a surprise. Yes, I'll get the thumbs down, but I don't care about that anymore. I mean, they think it affects me, and that's fine if it makes them happy. If it keeps them from murdering or robbing somebody, and all they're doing is hitting a thumb down button, that's fine. But I don't get trolled anymore, and even when I do, I basically now have learned, wish them well, and if I have to, just block them. Problem solved. And if somebody makes a video attacking me, I don't watch it. I don't let it bother me. I control how I respond. I cannot control what somebody else does. I used to get mad and hate people that were nasty and mean to me. Now, I feel sorry for them. Because I've noticed, and it took a very long time for this to happen, and that's why sometimes the world is not going to solve your problem overnight. It can, but sometimes you have to if you keep repeating the same thing, eventually you say, hello, McFly, it's time to wake up. But I had to learn through so many times how to react differently. It's called growth. And that's why another thing I've noticed is, the longer I do this, is I notice the very same people that were doing it then, some of them are still doing it to this day, or at least feel that same way. That is not growth. And it gives me the choice. Do I want to continue that cycle, or do I want to go in a different direction? And you can do the same. You have to think differently if you want change. That's why when I mentioned the video the other day about the whispers, you know, the world tells you, oh, don't talk about things because you bring it into existence. No, And that's true, but it also helps you deal with it and understand it. You know, if you're in a room where there's nuclear fallout and you didn't know it was there, well, you're not going to do anything to better your situation. And my cat is not happy right now. So knowing that there is nuclear fallout in a room gives you the ability to leave it. So is knowing about it a good or a bad thing? Well, that depends on what you do with it. Ignoring it doesn't always lead to positive things. Ignore your teeth. They'll go away. Please tell me how that's good. It's all in how you treat things. So once you reveal something, it no longer has the same effect. Why do you think YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and social media and TV is trying to hide so many things? Even things like my videos. I have 47,000 subscribers, 29 are watching. And the 7 that liked it, thank you. And the others who didn't, that's okay. But they're hiding it because they don't want you aware of the magic trick. You cannot control people who have wisdom, who have the ability to think. Why do you think the whole world, if you watch the news isn't there to make you feel love, make you feel passion, make you feel happy. It's there to keep you stressed and angry. And it's like any drug, it's addicting. If you go to a video that you hate just to thumb it down, you are taking your energy and filling it with hatred, which will always be in your life, instead of improving your life by trying to do something more positive. So, if people want to be jealous, they have the right, but they'll spend their whole life being jealous. If people want to be angry, they have that right, but they're going to spend their whole life being angry at something. Especially themselves, because like I said, when you fill a glass with water, you're taking away the ability for the air to be there. So if you're filling your heart with hatred, you're pushing out the love. But you can do the opposite. And it will be a constant struggle. Just because one day you say, oh, I feel uplifted, and oh, I've raised my vibration, does not mean you're going to stay there. Does not mean you will not fall down. It is always a test. If you're swimming in the ocean, if you don't want to drown, you're going to have to keep swimming. You can't say, well, I've been swimming for 10 days now. I'll rest. What do you think's going to happen? So the world that we are living in right now, this 3/4th dimensional plane called Earth, it's a lower vibrational level. It's making you have to swim. Well, you don't have to. You can one day give up and drown. But this world is for the strongest, because it takes a very powerful person to not only survive this world, but rise above it. And think of it like any grade, from kindergarten all the way through to college. You do not progress until you learn the lesson. If you don't learn the lesson, what happens? You get left back, which means what? You have to repeat the same thing. This is no different. And if you point out things, you can help some people go in a better direction. If a teacher in the classroom just stood there and said nothing, you learn nothing. And you'll learn from your own experience. That does not always mean you're going to find the right things. Sometimes you just find the easiest things. You know, getting drunk can make you happy. Can make you forget your problems temporarily. But how many people that are alcoholics have an amazing, positive, healthy life? It doesn't tend to end well for them and those around you. And that's the thing. If it was something where you did something to yourself and it didn't affect anyone else, then I say go for it. But you know, how many family members are sad because you're doing something that is not making your life better? How many other people are you affecting by how you treat others? Directly and indirectly. You can't be an empathetic being and secretly want to hurt others. It's not how it works. And that's why when they talk about unconditional love, that means you have to love everyone to be unconditional. If you set your conditions, it is not unconditional love. And you can justify it. You can have your ego always give you, well, this is why I do this, and this is why this is okay. If you want to listen to that, you have that right. But if you keep having the same things happen over and over again, you're not growing, you're not learning, and it will continually give you what you don't want. So I hope you fix that. When you reveal the magic trick, it no longer affects you. That's why I've said, and spoiler alert, if somebody saws a woman in half in that magic trick, when you're a kid and you see as they separate the two boxes and you see the feet wiggle and you see the head move, you're amazed. Oh my God, how did that happen? But once you learn it's actually two different women in two different boxes, it doesn't have the same effect anymore. So bringing things to light may create things, manifest things, or it may just reveal that what was already there that you were not aware of. So once you become aware of something, you have the ability to do something about it. And the test is, do you use your reptilian brain and get that temporary satisfaction of knowing you hurt somebody, but never grow and constantly have to be in that mode, so when you will never improve and you will never improve the people around you? Or do you decide, today's the day I rise above, realize I'm swimming in an ocean and I have to continually swim above that water if I don't want to drown, which means it may be a constant struggle, but it will only strengthen me, and one day, when it's my time to go, I'll be at peace. Because I hate to tell everybody that's running around now so afraid to die right now, that day will come. If you spend your whole life trying to prevent what is going to happen, you're not living a life. Why do you think so many people now have no clue what they're doing? Running around like chickens without heads. Have no ability to listen and reason. And if you fight their fire with their fire, like the saying goes, when you argue with a fool, the only thing you learn is there are two fools in the conversation. Some people you can't save. And that's okay. You cannot save everyone. It's like me helping the stray cats outside. I love doing it. But if every single cat in this state came to me, they would pretty much almost all die, because I would run out of money, I would run out of food, I'd run out of the ability to save them, and they would end up dying. So you have to limit your battles to what you can do. And know that that's okay. I want to make these things aware. I don't want you to be that wounded gazelle who's an easy target. You got to build up your strength physically, emotionally. You got to listen to your heart every now and then. Trust in it. Trust your instincts. Stay away from the negativity. You can't grow without sunlight. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope this helps somebody. If anything, it helps me feel better, because I get these things out, because I know now that instead of keeping it inside, I've put it out there in the universe for somebody to listen to if they want. So I feel like I've done a good deed. I may never notice, I may never know, and that's okay. I don't do it for that. I don't do it for the handouts. Once you know the magic trick, it can no longer affect you. So now that you know that the reason the world is full of anger and full of lower vibration, and how it activates your primal brain, your reptilian brain, and it limits your ability to reason and process, you can think differently. Try it. See what happens. But remember, like I said, if you're in the ocean, you're going to keep swimming. Because if you don't, you will drown. And if you're going to go into a burning building trying to save somebody's life, don't complain that it's dark and scary, or you could get burned, because you chose to have that career. or that choice. So own it, be happy with it. Thanks for listening, and as usual, YouTube tries to shut down my video, so they have a video card froze. As soon as I hit OK, it will end. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you next